Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think one of the things we're hearing today is the complete disdain by members of Congress for the 10th Amendment and the ability for the states to actually govern themselves, or the idea that legislatures that are elected by people in South Dakota versus California or New York versus Wisconsin can actually have diverse opinions on something as controversial as abortion. So there's a patchwork that exists because there's been many states that have been working on pro-life legislation at the state level for literally since Roe versus Wade was put in place. And Wisconsin, my state, falls into that category. So, and I was in the state Senate for 27 years, worked on a number of different pro-life pieces of legislation, including constitutional amendments to prohibit partial birth abortion. And as we continue to pass those bills, it was all done under the guise of we were walking the fine line right up to Roe versus Wade. So when I was majority leader in 2015, we passed a law prohibiting abortions after 20 weeks. Wisconsin also has a law in the books passed before Roe versus Wade that bans abortion in all cases except for the life of the mother, subject to penalties under a different felony case than the 2015 law. It's my understanding it's common for criminal statutes to overlap, and the old law should in no way conflict with the 2015 law, which also provides for civil claims for damages, for example, against any person who performs an abortion on a pregnant woman in violation of the act. The only difference between the two statutes is one was written before Roe versus Wade, one was written after. The Supreme Court decision in the recent Dobbs case is binding on the states, and any Wisconsin statute that had conflicted with Roe should now have full legal force and effect. However, I think what we're seeing is that Democrats who don't trust their legislatures or governors are trying to circumvent the law. They're trying to figure out a way of, let's work around the local people, local yokels in state legislature, because we know better in Congress. We always know better, which is always puzzling to me because there's such a high percentage of members of Congress that served in the state legislatures. In Wisconsin, our governor, Governor Evers, promised to provide clemency to any physician that is charged under Wisconsin abortion laws. Our Attorney General brought a suit against the state legislature already, which is legally questionable in its own right, asserting that the 2015 law supplants the earlier Wisconsin law because they are, quote, in direct conflict with each other. I believe the only difference between the two statutes is that one was written after Roe and one before, again. So my question would be to Ms. Glenn Foster. What has been kind of the recent response and the knee-jerk that you're seeing kind of from state to state as we look at this distrust for the state legislatures and what they may do or not do in light of the ruling?
You know, most states are moving to protect human life. They're moving to put those pre-Roe laws or those post-Roe laws into enforcement. That 2015 law, it was a temporary solution to the Roe problem, and it did not repeal Wisconsin's pre-Roe law. So that pre-Roe law sets the abortion policy of Wisconsin, which is a state that I love. I'm a Packers fan, Bucks fan. You know, love the cheese state. But Wisconsin is also a pro-life state, and it is, you know, it's going to be free from abortion businesses.
Do you think that as this quote-unquote patchwork exists, that it will be an opportunity for the electorate to kind of revisit some of these issues and adjust compared to what the Supreme Court has done?
It is, yes. That's why we have elected representatives, and the American people are going to make their will known. We've seen that in the polling. We know that the American people support life, and we expect to see that the American people and their elected representatives will pass laws that will protect life going forward.
Very good. Thank you, and I yield back.